we've got open source city and transparency and open data as the, let's call it buzzwords from the Urban Declaration. And they share a common theme, and that is, how does the availability of information on methods, designs, when we're talking about open source, the availability of data about our lives, our cities, our interactions, but also the information how we can access it. Do you have examples of where this change in the availability of information in your personal life has affected the way you design?
We were using a lot of Google Earth, and there's all this open source building data that you have because of Google SketchUp being free and people uploading 3D models of buildings in their own cities and things. So you can basically get a virtual city that's pretty accurate, and you could use this to do a 3D model of the city even if you've never been there, and you can get a sense of how big the buildings are and what the composition is like in the street. And I think, we're really becoming to rely on that as a tool for designing. And I think it's a double-edged sword, because it's good for designing, but then it's also bad for designing, because you really should go and visit a place if you want to design something properly.
If we think about design, what is the valuable thing about the design? It's not actually the product maybe, or what was built, because that isn't the actual design, the creative process, which is being paid for. So what happens if the theory, the design, the blueprints, the data necessary to build this, to create this, become open source for everything?
Just because, I see the blueprints and I can reconstruct exactly what was there, but I don't necessarily then understand the reason why this building was built in this way, why certain rooms have certain proportions in comparison to the others. If I take a building somewhere on the east coast of America, it's probably facing in a certain direction to catch the sun, for instance.
So who of you would go and open source your designs?
It could just be that we don't feel established in our field yet enough to be able to release, a lot of people are architects or designers, to release a design if it hasn't been tested yet.
Okay, but what about open data? I mean, open data means that, and transparent processes especially, means that we have, when I make a decision in a city, for example, that decision is publicly available.
I have found publicly available data quite useful in some projects.
I agree and don't agree with the public. The information is to everybody to see. One, from me is the image. I have to explain the image. I don't have like a sentence to say. I like two roads. So like this, we're going to show the image. And in the ends of the road, there are two persons. And they look to each other and say, oh, you're doing the same work that I do? So they look to the past and say, oh, and I'm working in this project like 5 years, and you too? If I know about it, it's more easier. So sometimes we are working in our stuff, so I'm very clever, I'm the only person that's imagining this, and all of and maybe more persons are working about it. So if we work in a network, it's easier. The other that I don't agree, I am afraid to lose my identity. If I only use the other things, oh, it's good, I don't think I'm going to reply. And I don't think more about me, my identity, my community, my city, and my country. I have agree, I don't agree.
For example, in Denmark, a lot of information has just been released for open source. And for example, it has to do with income and sort of the social structure of cities, and it made it easier to analyze what sort of people are living in the area, so you hopefully can make more qualified sort of designs which cater for the people who are there. For example, if you can see that more than half of the citizens in an area are receiving some sort of transfer payment from the municipality, well then you know that they are probably available to use the public spaces all day, whereas most people are normally working. So that might mean that the urban space you design is made so that it will work all day and not just in the afternoon when people come home from work. So when you take the raw data and combine it with common sense, I think you can get something quite good. But the data in itself is not necessarily very intelligent. You need to make the conclusions yourself.